Powered by Rev Media in partnership with TSN. It is Season 5, Episode 74, Stanley Cup Final Playoff Edition of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast, presented by our title sponsor, Canadian Club Whiskey. Have you tried the Canadian Club Ginger Ale? Crisp, refreshing alternative to beer. It's well balanced with flavors of ginger, the subtle notes of rye and spice. The new formula is 30% less sugar, 20% fewer calories. Canadian Club Ginger Ale, and it is delicious. Had a beverage post Game 3, Ray, at a wonderful spot here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and it's called Bird Dog. Kris Knoblauch, who's one of the owners there, was kind enough to host us, and what an eclectic group it was, huh? Not to name drop, it's big enough when I'm sitting down hanging out with Ray Ferraro and Jamie Noodles McLennan and James Duthie and David Amber was there. But then Mark Messier comes swaggering into the establishment with PK Subban, who, in all of his flamboyance was there. I mean, it was kind of
Steve Levy.
Steve Levy from ESPN.
Craig Button was there. But when Mess walks in, apparently he's won 5 cups in Edmonton.
Wow. And we're not going to disclose the details of our discussion because that would be unfair. We'll let Mess speak for himself. But he's still got the juice, eh? He still gets fired up. The passion is still there when he's talking about the game.
He's got, he sees things so clearly, like the way to win and the way not to win, or the way you don't win, I guess is the better way to say it. And it's never very complicated, but it makes so much sense. And I'm like, and a lot of stuff you never really think about. I enjoy getting to know him a little bit. And, but man, he's got a big personality, boy. He just has to wander in and, all the guys wearing their Oiler jerseys, they like the conversation stop and, and he comes in and it's, but it was fun. It was good to get out. Good to see you guys. And, awesome group of guys. It was really fun.
I was a tad surprised, to be fair. I mean, it's not a huge restaurant. But of course there was an abundance of Oilers sweaters, all fans packed in there. I was impressed at the level of respect and space. Come on, this guy is iconic in this city for obvious reasons, and they left him alone. I mean, it's not like we had security detail around our table, so it was. You're right.
Well, there wouldn't have been security. There wouldn't have been security detail for us. It would have been for him. We didn't need anything. It could have been fine.
Well, speaking of needing something, you needed help getting back to your hotel. I mean,
not from being served, just from directional idiocy. Directional
That's good clarification. Yeah, good clarification there. You were fine.
Yeah.
It was just, as we've talked about with our good friend Gord Miller on occasion here on the Ray and Dregs pod, when it comes to directions, let's just say it can be a challenge for you, Ray.
But I'm trying. This is the thing. Last night, I thought I had it. I was so confident to say, I'm feeling a right turn right here.
Yeah.
And you and Button stopped on a dime and started to giggle at me. And Craig says, no, that would take you down the hill. You're going that way. You're not going right. I wasn't even close.
No.
Disappointing.
And we're not miles away from locations here. We're like 3 blocks. Just turn left, you'll be fine. I gotta tell you this too. I do get turned around even reading the map on my phone. Oh boy.
All of a sudden I realized, wait a minute, it said 300 meters. Now I'm 400 meters. What am I doing?
I've done something incorrect here.
That's how I notice I'm going the wrong way.
All right. Well, let's get into the heavy lifting. And, we have to look forward to dig into Game 4 in headlines, but we'll also analyze and dissect, why we're at this point. And if you're the Oilers, that means that you're in a deep, deep hole, down 3 games to love to the Florida Panthers. Headlines brought to us by Tim Hortons. Cool down with your favorites for less at Tim's this summer during their first ever happy hour. Treat yourself to select $3 medium iced lattes and flavored cold brew every day from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. for a limited time at Tim Hortons. All right. As I said, let's look forward here to Game 4 Saturday night. We're recording at Ray and Dregs here Friday morning. Is Florida simply too good? I know, that just boils it down to as a simplistic a way to describe it as I can muster at this point of the series. Is Florida ready to win? And it's that simple.
They really have the look of a team that is ready to win. And last year, at the same time, they were down 3-1 to Vegas. They were going to go on to lose 4-1. They looked beaten up, a step behind, just almost like out of answers. And this year they look like they've got the answer for just about anything that anybody can throw at them. And the Oilers look like Florida did last year. And I didn't think that was going to be the case. I thought this series was going to be closer. I thought it would be 2-1 right now. And I just didn't see. I didn't see the Oilers looking like this, which is like literally out of answers. Yeah. Because Florida just looks. They do it in such an interesting way. Like, it's not like they just overwhelm you and Edmonton hasn't had any chances or any shots. And I mean, they can all hang their hat a little bit on that and say, like, we had chances early in the game. We got depth scoring yesterday. It turns out to be a 1-goal game again. But the fact of the matter is Florida never looks in trouble. They really don't.
So it starts and maybe it ends with Sergei Bobrovsky. And I think you got the feel, didn't you? Even in Game 1 where the Oilers played very, very good, they just couldn't beat Bobrovsky, that if they didn't find a way very early in Game 2, he was going to become arguably the main story and certainly a problem for the Oil. And that's really what's happened here. And, when you think bigger picture historically of the Oilers, it seems in Stanley Cup Finals, they've run into that hot goalie, that Conn Smythe worthy goalie, whether it was Billy Smith in '83 or Cam Ward in 2006. Now it's Bobrovsky. They won the Stanley Cup in '87, but Ron Hextall again won the Conn Smythe as the goalie of choice there. So is it Bob just finding another level here, Ray? The ineffectiveness of the Oilers, the structure of the Panthers, all of the above?
And when you started off by saying, are the Panthers just too good? I think it's virtually across the board in this series. Okay. I've done quite a few Panther games in this playoff series or playoff rounds. And early in the Rangers series, Bob wasn't even a talking point because Shesterkin was just so brilliant. Yeah. And you kind of almost forgot about him. But then in games 5 and 6, he was really good. And then through the finals here, he's been lights out. And so right across the board, like, I think the goals for are 11-4. There's only been one power play goal in the series. Florida's got that. Edmonton had the lead for a moment in Game 2, and that's been it in the series. Like, if you're gonna stress Florida, you got to get in front of them.
Yeah.
If they get in front, they just churn up the ice, and they're so good, so disciplined. And I think a lot of it is, as it was pointed out yesterday, they're healthier and they're better than last year. If you look at the additions they made, their team is better than they were last year. Just the people they brought in. And so Bob has been fantastic. That first period yesterday, the Oilers had, I'd say, 3 or 4 really good chances. Draisaitl on the power play, McDavid on the power play. I think Hyman had one from in tight. Mm-hmm. And at the start of the series, one of the things that we opened up with was the Oilers get a lot or almost all of their offense from the top 5 guys on their roster. McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, Nugent Hopkins, and Bouchard. They have 0 goals in 3 games.
Yeah.
They're just simply not going to win like that. And it can be for a myriad of reasons, but the answer is they've got 0.
Talk about that power play, right? So 0 for 10 now in this series, the Edmonton Oilers power play. And I think there's positivity in that. Yeah, they've generated some chances. They've hit crossbars. They've hit posts. They've done everything but score, and Bobrovsky is a big part of the reason why. But I think it's the overall penalty kill too, isn't it? And how much confidence can a special teams unit have just based on recent history? I mean, they came through a Tampa Bay team that last time I checked had a pretty good power play. Eastern Conference Final, the New York Rangers, not a bad power play, right? So as a group, you take pride as a penalty killer in obviously keeping, the puck out of your net. But is that a factor, Ray, in how good the penalty kill of the Florida Panthers has been?
I think confidence, sure. I think their overall approach and plan to penalty killing, their personnel, the way that they seem to be really on, and I guess this goes to confidence, they're just on the same page. Like when one guy pinches, the next guy moves into the right spot to kill what would be an open space. And it all works on timing and reads. And when you're confident, those things are right on. And when you're not, you're just a half a second away and maybe it ends up in the net. Right now they've killed 42 of the last 44.
Yeah.
The Panthers have.
Yeah.
And so, like you say, they've done it to some real good power plays. It is stunning that the Oilers don't have anything. I got to say one thing. I don't know I didn't see the final totals from last night, but going into game 3, Evan Bouchard had 24 shot attempts, 15 blocked.
Oof.
So he's standing back there and unloading this hellacious slapper, and the Panthers just get in front of it and block it again. Like they're just right on it. So the one thing I would say that is maybe they can move in their movement, as they tried to create a little more last night. Bouchard stays at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he should be involved in the movement and get him over on the left circle.
Sure.
Whatever you're doing, they're counteracting it. So you got to find something else.
Yeah.
Because right now, the only thing that's happening when he shoots it is he's wearing out people's shin pads.
Mm-hmm.
And it is amazing. And the other thing I will say in his defense, I think he is gassed. He is played.
It looks like that.
Oh, he's played so many minutes and so many important minutes. And, if you go back to game 2, he had a brutal third period. He turned one over to Rodriguez. He got beat wide from McLeod on the power play goal, or got beat out wide from Lundell on the power play goal that Rodriguez tipped in. Last night, they're 4-on-4. It's 0-0. This seems like a place the Oilers can excel. And Barkov pokes the puck off his stick.
Yeah.
Out-muscles him to the puck, protects the puck, and it's in the net. It's 1-0. And that's a player that, to me, is just like, he's just gassed. It's just, and it happens, right? It happens that if they're going to stay in it, he's got to find another gear somehow.
Well, and speaking of that, so too does Leon Draisaitl, and I guess we throw McDavid into that mix as well. Although Connor's got a few points just based on helping out, but Leon Draisaitl has taken ownership of his play or lack of production in this series. But again, how much of that his inability to generate is more about how good the Panthers are in that matchup game of shutting him down, or is that what the Stanley Cup Final is all about, Ray? And I'm sorry, but if you're Leon Draisaitl, you've got to find a way to be a difference maker.
Well, they don't have a chance if he doesn't. But what I said, like everything just has to go perfect if you're going to win. And some of that is health. Some of that is finding a greasy goal here or there. So Evander Kane's not in the lineup, and when he is, he can't move, he can't play.
Yeah.
And so that leaves them a winger short on Draisaitl's line. And so, yes, he's got to be better. Yes, he's got to create more. Yes, Florida's really good. But he's out there and he's playing with Dylan Holloway, who's in his first playoff, who I think has been fine. But, man, you're asking a lot from him. The other side is a rotating door of guys that they're playing with it. There's no player in this league, including McDavid, that doesn't need help. Like, it's not basketball. It's and I say a lot. It's always more than one thing. We like to say this needs to happen, and that's it. But the Panthers defend well. They defend well with various players too. So it's not like you're going to get a matchup and you go, "Oh man, they're out there against that line. They can't play." That's not the case. It's not the case. But to get 3 games in and he's totally skunked, I'm really surprised. And I guess part of that goes right back, Dregs, to that power play. But sometimes the numbers tell you something that you might go, "Oh, I didn't really realize that." They scored a power play goal in the first 9 games of the playoffs. They had 11 power play goals in those 9 games. Yeah. And since then, they've got 5. And that's 12 games. Yeah. Last 12 games, they got 5. And so this story maybe has been telling itself for a little bit longer, and we haven't quite noticed.
Yeah. I mean, there hasn't been much shifting or adjusting or changing in the game of the Florida Panthers and personnel.
No, never. It seems like it seems like none. It's just like it's like they're the same guys that go over the boards, but they're just in different sweaters. Like, they all do the same thing. They all, I'm really impressed watching them play.
Yeah. Yeah. And it looks like, again, let's not count the chickens here, but in a salary cap year, keeping the band together is next to impossible. And they've got some big guys that they're going to have to wrestle with, right? Montour and Reinhart and all of that. But if you've got that psychology or that commitment, Barkov's not going anywhere. Kachuk's not going anywhere. I guess what I'm saying is you bring guys in. This is how we play. And this is how you're going to play, right? And maybe they can sustain the win.
Yeah, you know what, Dregs? It's really true, because what they can do, they're going to lose. I don't see any way Montour's able to fit in.
No.
I would assume that Reinhart's their priority.
Yeah.
Assuming that gets done. So you've got whatever Montour's cap hit is. I think he's right around close to 5.5 or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, then you'll have to chase a defenseman that fits at that price. But what they're able to do, because they have this team, is the guys they lose, they can target shop to replace what they lost. When you're a team that is trying to be a good team, you know what you want to be, but you don't know how to get there, or you don't have the players to get there. The Panthers, like other good teams, they can target shop. We need somebody. If they lose Montour, we need to replace his game. How can we do that? Who can that be?
Yeah.
Right. But if you need 4 defensemen or 5 forwards, like, how are you going to target shop? You're just trying to get the best guys you can.
Yeah. Speaking of defense, how impressed are you there in Ekblad? And again, the role that he now plays that he really hasn't played through much of his career, right? Like, he's embraced that shutdown mentality. And is that coaching? Is that the experience of a player who just is doing anything he can do, sacrificing other elements of his game to win?
It starts with the coaching and the vision that they had for their lineup. They wanted to get Montour on the top of that power play. They thought he was a better fit there. And so that's great. You got an idea. Now you got to go sell it to Ekblad. And who's been a point producer really most of his career. And so you go sell it, and you sell it in a way, and this is on Maurice, is that it's part of their grand vision for what they hope the team could be. And so that meant way less points, and we don't care. Way more defensive responsibility that you've never had, that we're going to work with you, and you're going to play with Forsling, and this is your role. Can you do it? So you can go sell it. The other part of that is the player has to be ready to hear it. And that is really the key to all of it. you can have that same discussion with Aaron Ekblad 5 years ago, and internally he might not have been into it. He might not have seen the value in it. But now he's older. He gets the bigger picture a little bit differently. Yeah. And it's almost like I can't quite remember what he used to be.
Yeah.
Like it just kind of seems like this is what he is now. I don't know if you remember in the game, Oilers scored to make it 1-1. Was it 1-1 at any point? Yeah, it was 1-1.
Yeah.
When just after Foegele scored
on the breakaway.
Yeah. The building started to jump a bit. It was really the first time in about a half an hour that the building was loud. Puck goes up the boards. Now Edmonton's had one good shift, and now they're on to the next shift. Puck goes up the boards, and I forget who dumped it into the Florida zone. Ekblad came. He closed so fast, and he deposited the guy. I don't remember who in the Florida bench.
It was Foegele. Yeah.
Was it Foegele again?
Yeah, it was Foegele. He was a big dude. That's a big hit.
And so, but my point is, maybe a few years ago, Ekblad might not have understood that.
Right.
And so he knew that moment was there. There's a chance to make a physical note on the game, and he made it. To me, that was a kind of a good illustration of what you're talking about.
Well, and it takes us back to the start of headlines, right? Where you talked about Florida being ready to win. Well, that's all part of it. That individual play and the sacrifices and the changes and the evolution of your game. I mean, when everyone buys in like that, that's, I guess, ultimately how you hoist the Stanley Cup.
Man, they look good. They look ready.
Yeah. Kris Knoblauch has made several changes over the course of this playoff run. He really has. Some of it is just necessary, right? And that was the case to a point last night. Evander Kane just physically can't do it.
Yeah.
So you bring Corey Perry back into the mix, and you test drive Derek Ryan, who comes in. You make some adjustments on the back end, all of that. What do you think he has in store in the bag of tricks for Game 4? You know, I mean, there's some whispers of Sam Gagner. Maybe that's just kind of emotional thinking because of we know he's a fan favorite in this city, right? We know that he's still capable as an older player of having a moment. Or is that too drastic? You just continue to roll with what you've got and just look for a game more closer to mistake-free, because it wasn't that in Game 3.
Well, you say it's is it a bit desperate? Well, you're down 0-3.
Yeah.
I look at it this way. You've got 4 goals in 3 games. Your power play hasn't scored. Sam is not the quickest guy. And I mean, I guess never really was, but he's a really clever player and still is. What if he makes one play? What if he makes one pass to Draisaitl and he scores? And then you get nothing else from him the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Like just in that example that I give, is the reason I would have gone to him in Game 3.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And again, and maybe I'm a sucker for the emotionality of a guy back here for the 3rd time and probably, at the end of his career. Maybe I'm a sucker for that. But I break it down to, what if he makes one play?
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody else is making them. And you're talking about being mistake-free. Hell, last night they didn't make a lot of mistakes, but they can't score. Maybe he can give you one chance that you don't otherwise get.
Yeah. Yeah.
They played Derek Ryan 5 minutes last night.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if and there's the other thing too. Last night, Florida had 4 guys that played 20 minutes. And 3 of them were defensemen, and Barkov was 20-something or other.
Right.
And the Oilers, their top end plays, all of them are 25 minutes plus.
Mm-hmm.
24 minutes plus. The wear and tear and the toll it takes on them 22 games into a playoff year is immense.
Yeah. I mean, when you look back at this series, who knows? You know what? I don't like the idea of a sweep in any playoff round. Certainly not in the Stanley Cup final. I don't like the look of it. I do think Florida is going to win the Stanley Cup. I don't see Edmonton clawing back and winning 4 in a row. I just don't.
Well, you know the number, right? It's one time in history, and it was in 1942.
Yeah, 42 Leafs. That's right.
Yeah, so
they're still talking about it in downtown Toronto. That 42 Leafs team was something.
So the chances are, slim and none, and at this point.
But you do boil a series down in stretches, and you, as you said, Edmonton did make a lot of mistakes in Game 3, but that 6 minutes in the second period where Stu Skinner kind of has a gaffe, Cody Ceci gets outworked, Darnell Nurse. It's unfortunate for those 3 guys because they seem like they're lightning rods, don't they?
Yeah, I mean the goal, just off a simple dump in, Skinner's not quick enough to get back to get it.
Yeah.
So then that puts Ceci in a bad spot, but it was almost like Ceci wasn't anticipating that the puck could have been there because he ended up face up against the boards. Like, what was he going to do with it anyway if he got there? And then Dylan Holloway standing by the forward in front of the net, and he takes a left turn because he thinks they've got the puck. But you can't cheat thinking you've got the puck. You always have to cheat thinking you don't have it in that spot. And then bang, bang, it's in the net.
Yeah.
And it's, and there's a second goal. The third one, I'm not real sure what Nurse was doing with it there, but he's got the puck and the play is to the boards, not back up the center mid of the ice or left mid of the ice. And then he gets turned around and Tkachuk makes a really good play and Bennett makes it 3-1. And man, it's like the same guys over and over. I don't love plus minus. I really don't. The highest in playoff history is Sam Reinhart's dad was minus 16 in a playoff year. I think he was minus 12 in the series against Edmonton. Minus 12. And Calgary scored a bunch of goals in that series too. Anyway, Darnell Nurse is now minus 16.
Oh, geez.
So like if you're in, we used to have a coach that said he used to get mad at guys when they were in the middle of too many goals against, and he'd call the video when we go through video, he'd call it the movie, and he's like, "You're in the effing movie too much. You're in the movie." And it meant that you kept reading your name as the puck goes into your net. So Nurse is in the movie too much.
He is. All right. Well, let's wrap up headlines with, call it a prediction, I guess. We going back to Florida for Game 5, or are you going back to Florida for Game 5? I won't be, but you might be.
I mean, there is certainly a last stand about this. I'm going to say no, because I just, as much as I'm talking about Florida here, I'm talking about Edmonton too. It just feels like the tank is empty.
Yeah, it looks like it too.
I just think they will. I will be shocked if they don't come out with a really terrific effort. But if let's say it's 1-1 mid-second, and Florida gets another quick one like they did last night, and it's 2-1. The emotional fatigue of that trailing again, I think you just lose the fight. You just can't muster it up. And so I'm going to say no, it's not going back to Florida.
Okay. All right. Well, those are your headlines. Thank you to our good friends at Tim Hortons.
It's happy hour at Tim's. Try the new tiramisu cold brew. Steeped cold for 16 hours for a bold yet smooth coffee taste. Get a medium for only $3 from 2 to 8 p.m.
Our interviews on Ray and Dregs are brought to us by Canadian Club 1858 Original. It is the flagship whiskey for Canadian Club. It's where it all began, and it is spectacular. Ask Ray and Dregs anything. You can send us your questions as our season, Ray, is quickly winding down. When are we going to wrap it up, Ray? Like July, maybe the morning July 2nd, evening of July 1st?
When are you headed to the Cabbage?
Well, it'll be the second or the third, I would think. So, I mean,
Well,
we could do
the
it on
day
the morning
before
of the second or the evening of the
the
July
day
1st.
before you leave, because I think last year we did it from Katie's apartment
I think
in Thunder
we
Bay.
did. In Thunder
And
Bay, yeah.
there was some connectivity issues, as I remember. So why don't we do it from the Dreger compound before you load? You'll have the truck backed into the driveway, loaded
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Holly will be sitting in the
Exactly right.
seat. Holly will be sitting in the passenger seat with Tiny.
Yeah.
You'll wrap it up and go, see ya in August.
Yeah.
So I think that's the way it's got to
gonna
go.
play out.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to send. We got a bizarre question for Ask Ray and Dregs Anything sent to us. So, out of
Okay.
respect to Eric Ellis, I'm going to ask this question. And you can send us your questions on X and Instagram at Ray and Dregs or on the website, rayandregs.com. Eric is questioning the ear guards on helmets. Okay. Says he loves the pod. He's a longtime listener, but he is a first-time question asker. Today's question is a little off the cuff, says Eric. Why do NHLers take their ear guards off their helmets when they turn pro? He says, I can only think of a couple of players that keep their ear guards on their helmets. He's thinking of Sidney Crosby. He's thinking of Patty Kane. Why is this, Ray? Love the pod. Keep up the good work, fellas. Eric from Swift Current.
I have no idea.
I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know. That's why I asked. You're usually on those things.
I think, well, there's certainly a look to it with the ear guards that don't quite, they're not sharp. I mean, I know they're just a piece of plastic across the scoops of the helmet, but
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we never had them, never even heard of them till they started putting them on for safety. I will say I got hit in the ear once. I won a face-off, and Doug Lidster was our defenseman in New York, and he went to slap it around the boards, and he hit me in the side of the head, and I had to get. I don't know how he hit me. I mean, like the boards are way over there. I was on the dot still, and I've never had more painful stitches in my life. It was brutal.
Not a lot of meat in the ear, right?
Oh, and so it hurt like hell. I'm getting stitched up. I got that goofy towel, that they put over you, and they just leave the hole where they're doing the stitching. And I can see a bunch of feet there. And so the first stitch goes in, and this voice says, the doctor doing the stitching, his name was Bart, and he goes, "Good stitch, Bart." And it was the dentist. I go, "Miller, is that you?" And he goes, "Yeah." I go, "My teeth are fine. Get out of here." I was so mad. I was sweating, and that hurt. And all I remember is like, why are these guys watching? It's like a spectator sport. Get out of here. But the ear guard would have probably saved me those stitches.
We had an experience of Ray Ferraro memory lane yesterday. So I guess that's Thursday. So our location to shoot our pregame hits is overlooking the moss pit. So we're on a balcony of this building. It's a really nice look, by the way.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but it's a wall of glass, right? I mean, and I don't know if it was Duthie or it was Mike Lane or someone referenced, "Hey, heads up, we don't need to repeat Ray Ferraro here walking into the plate glass window in 2011.
If I would have walked into it, I would have been fine. The fact that I was in a full sprint really caused this nose to have some stitching issues that was unbelievable. I can almost feel the stunning as I ran into the window. I thought the door was open. It was a glass wall.
And you just bounced, and you were like standing right beside you. You just bounced. Why'd I do that? And then, like, instantly, you had like a full gash right across your nose. It was so good.
The best part was your sympathy there your empathy.
Yeah,
you were
0.
doubled over, couldn't even move.
It took me about 3 minutes. As soon as you departed for the emergency room, I was doing the reenactment.
And you had
already
pictures.
it thought out.
Do you have those pictures, or are they gone still?
Of your smudged face on the
Yes.
glass? No,
Yes.
I don't have them. I don't know.
Oh, what a donkey. I'm glad you guys got out of there safe. Really
Are
happy.
you playing some golf this afternoon, or are you pulling the pin on that?
I'm pulling the pin, I think. I am
Yeah.
at an energy low.
Yeah,
and-
I bet.
And I just don't think I'm going to do it. I'd like to. Our fearless leader had lined it up, but I think I'm going to pull the pin.
All right.
Rest day today, and we'll see what tomorrow brings.
Okay, well, you and I will get together perhaps later for a little dining or something special
Yes.
here in Edmonton later.
It's really nice of you to offer to pick up the tab. That's awesome.
Again,
Thanks, Strides.
Like I did last night.
Actually, you know what?
what?
Today is on me. You did pick up the tab last night. That
okay.
was. Just don't bring any friends. I worry about your friends.
You should be. All right, buddy. We'll get some rest and have a good day, and we'll reconnect later.
Yep. We'll see you later. And who knows? Next time we jump on this thing, it's either the off season or there's a game 5. But enjoy the weekend, everybody, and we'll talk next week.
And thank you to our sponsors who continue to support Ray and Dregs, our title sponsor, Canadian Club Whiskey, and Tim Hortons. Until next time, stay safe. Enjoy Game 4, everyone.